the Armageddon box set, and what on earth is going on at Games Workshop. Welcome, gentle listener and Warhammer fans. I am Baldermort, your faithful servant. Unfortunately, my voice is not up to recording a script properly. So, I thought I would scratch an itch that has been annoying me recently. No, this will not be a tirade, but it will be a discussion, something I hope you can help me with. Because I am so confused by what Warhammer are doing at present. What are Games Workshop up to? Now, the genesis of this rant hit me when I was sitting down with Merlin having a spot of lunch, and I watched a video from Chapter Master Valrak. He's a good lad, you should go and watch him. He keeps up to date with all the rumours, but more importantly, all of the official drops and information coming from Games Workshop and their community tab. Sometimes I just don't feel like reading it all, and Valrak puts it in a jolly way, so why not? And there I was, scoffing my lunch quickly, and I witnessed something I never thought I'd see. Even Chapter Master Valrak is not excited by the new box set. And that kind of hit a chord with me, because I felt it too. I didn't find any of it exciting at all. Now, to make my point, I need to take just a brief walk down memory lane. So let's have a look at some of the previous starter boxes and see why they were so exciting. 8th edition. A watershed, a cut-off point, before and after. And why was 8th so interesting? Why was it so novel? Because of the Primaris Marines. Now I realize, of course, and I feel quite a lot of it myself, that they were simply not necessary, and the way that they were actually enacted was almost setting destroying, but that's a discussion for another time. But realistically, I did love the models. They were of the right size, they felt like Space Marines, and those 2 wounds, they really did make them move and act like Space Marines as well. A true set of elite warriors. Something that I felt had been missing in previous editions to a certain extent, as Space Marines seemed to be almost the baseline from which all other armies were drawn, making them effectively rather bland in some regards as the baseline. But even so, the Primaris Marines came out. So, we had Inceptors, Intercessors, we had Hellblasters, a new rank, the Lieutenant, and of course, a Captain, etc. We had the Mark 10 armor and the Gravis armor. It was quite exciting. And then, in the Dark Imperium box, the 8th edition, you also had the new Death Guard army. You had the Plague Marines, of course, but then after that you had the Bloat Drone, and you had the rabble that go around them. And this was the beginning of the new Death Guard army, an army that stands on its own. Joining the Thousand Sons, it was the beginning, really, of the Chaos individual armies. Most excellent, and of course throughout that edition, both ranges were expanded. But that box set, every single model was new, but most of the units were new too. And then we go to 9th edition, and that glorious Indomitus box set, expanding units for the Primaris. You had the Eradicators, with their melty action, a slew of new officer miniatures, including, of course, new ones as well, the Outriders, and of course, those lovely close combat assault intercessors. Yummy. But also, on the other side, yes, you had a Necron Lord, yes, you had Scarabs, and yes, you had new warriors, all brand spanking new models, and very tasty indeed. But you also had new units. You had the Scorpic Lord, Scorpic Destroyers, the Murder Buckets. You also had the Plasmancer, and of course, the Reanimator Monster, which could have come from Horsted Common. Ulan. Later on in the edition, further models came out to expand these ranges, but a lot of these models were new units. And then we come on to the sumptuous Leviathan box, jam-packed full of models. The Infernus Squad, wonderful. A whole unit of Flamers, nice. Of course, you also had Terminators, and you had a remodeling of the Stern Guard. And of course, a Terminator Captain, a Terminator librarian, and another lieutenant, because why not? But then you also had the Biologus, and you also had the Ballistus Dreadnought, all new. On the Tyranid side, of course, there was a redesign of the Gaunts, wonderful stuff. But then after that, you also had the Barbed Gaunts. You had Von Ryan's Leapers, you had the Screamer Killer, an older unit, but one that had been out of the actual ranks of the Tyranids for quite some time, and what a monster it was. You had the Neuro Tyrant, you had its bodyguard creatures, the Psychophage, and the Flying Prime. But not just the models, a lot of these units were new. And so we come to the Armageddon box set. And what do we have? We have a new captain, a new librarian and chaplain and ancient. Gorgeous models, of course. We have Vanguard veterans. Very, very nice. Sort of. That's a very mixed bag. And we have a land speeder, but primaris. A storm speeder with a lucky Pierre gone from the middle. Less firepower and less cost, one will presume. New intercessors and an utterly unwarranted nor wanted variation of the Eradicators. Heavy bolters with Gravis armor. Really? What are the heavy intercessors for then? Let's sigh. But where was the new stuff? Let us get on to the Orcs. Now, no one can accuse me of not loving the Orcs, and I do intend to start an army the moment I get a chance. But let's be honest. This has a war boss, a big boss, a pain and weird boy, new boys and grots. All excellent resculpts. But that's all they are. Resculpts. A Bannernob and a War Track are some old units which have now been resurrected again. Excellent models, one cannot deny, but they're hardly new. I don't know any Orc player who wouldn't have the vast majority of these models already in their army. And then, of course, the one new one, a big mech docker rig. But that's it. That's all we get. A big mech docker rig. And now you can see the quintessence of my issue. So little of this is new, and also all of the rules from the 10th are then just rolling over again. Yes, there will be new formations, yes, there will be new ways of playing the game slightly. Yes, there will be pluses and minuses, things up and things down. But is any of it truly new? And that is the quintessence of my issue. This is not an exciting box set by any measure. And then we get on to the lore. Now the lore issue. As a greybeard myself, obviously I'm going to be rather put out by any changes. As I've stated recently, whenever they change the lore, it's like getting up in the middle of the night for a wee, and then finding that someone has not only redecorated your home, but moved the toilet. So you don't know what's going on, where it's going on, or how. But most importantly, why? Why are they going back to Armageddon? Why are they actually starting the entirety of the Armageddon system war again? This seems like a massive call for nostalgia. But nostalgia, according to all of their rules, according to all of their findings, is utterly unimportant. Because, as we've seen in interviews from, say, some of the people that Peachy has previously worked with, now I can't find the short myself because I don't have the time, but people there have specifically stated that the vast majority of players and collectors of Warhammer come in and within 2 years are then off again. But that doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. Because why are they then going for nostalgia? Because these people will neither know nor care about what happened before. And also, I'm going to put all of the boxes up in front of you. Each one of these starter boxes, if you just collect that and nothing else, would form an excellent army. Eventually. You would have the vast majority of your units. Eventually. So each box is designed to go on top of the last. Well, how does that work with this fall away of people? How does it work? On one hand, Games Workshop state that all of their sales are to new people, and yet, on the other hand, the design groups, even their game designers, state that, no, we need to play to some of the older guard. We need to pull on those old heartstrings and remind them of the battle at Armageddon. Well, I find this really confusing as well, because new players won't have the nostalgia, won't care, and old players will get annoyed that they're just rehashing the same 3 wars of Armageddon. And of course, when you start going into lore videos, what is new, what is old, what is correct, what is not? How on earth, why on earth, would the Blood Angels, with an entire half of the Imperium to defend, send over forces to Armageddon? And again, Marneus Calgar, big fan, good lad. But why is he going there? I mean, why isn't Helbrecht in charge? Why won't they give other people the limelight? And that draws me on to another issue as well. Because I don't really understand what Warhammer are doing. Is this a story or a setting? I used to bleat on endlessly that it was just a setting, that none of these storylines will ever be finished. But what they're doing at the present is, yes, they're opening up new storylines, but then after that never finishing them either. But they are definitely giving the impression, the simulacrum, that this is an ongoing story, not a setting. Now I can trace all of this back to the Horus Heresy. Once it was a mythic period, and who actually knew what happened? No one. We were just living in the wreckage of that warfare, that terrible confrontation. And now, well, absolutely everything is locked down. All is known. And unfortunately, this has shrunk the universe. Instead of it being a terribly dark place where anything could come out of the void and attack humanity, where nobody will ever be missed, no matter how great their deeds. These days, that is not true. With every map they release, with every Primarch they bring back, demonic or loyalist, they shrink the universe. They make it a smaller place, and more defined, more constructed, more known. Now, to many that will be something they enjoy. Does not mean it is good, nor bad. It's just not really my kettle of fish, not my cup of tea, one would say. Because I believe, really, that kit bashing and making up your own factions was so important, because it didn't matter what the officer's name was or what the unit did. They would be gone all too soon, and the never-ending grind of destruction would continue. Hence, you will not be missed. Now, this has been touted around so heavily, considering it to be some kind of political point. It wasn't. It was something which was in the front pages of the original book, Rogue Trader. The whole point of it was that you can fight now. You can do everything you should do. You can exemplify every honorable or miscreant trait. But eventually, the grinding wheels of war and history will forget you ever existed. Unfortunately, so many of the heroes which have now been brought in are fundamental to the setting, and if any of them do die, they will be missed, and massive repercussions will occur because of it. Ergo, this means that Warhammer is no longer a setting. It is a story, but one they seem to refuse to actually tie up any of the different lines on. This is incredibly frustrating for me, because originally it was a sandbox you would play in. It was a dark and terrible universe, and now it seems more like a Marvel universe, where their main characters come and clash with each other. All of the warriors around them mean very little. It is what the Primarchs do that is most important. It is what the hero and Dante and Calgar, etc., get up to that does it all. And this, to me, is a mistake. And it seems to be quite a catalogue of them which are now erupting from Games Workshop. Why? Well, let's be absolutely clear. Games Workshop have always stated they are a model company, that you play the game, well, almost as a side point, almost as a secondary thought. And this is simply not true. And this is a very strange way of putting things, because my suspicion is this. They've gone to a 3-year turnaround on all of their different systems because they cannot make enough models. We've all been there on a Saturday or Sunday, looking around, maybe in the middle of the night, and said, well, I really could do with just a little bit of fun. Let's go and see what little new model I could buy. I've worked hard. I've got a lot of stress. I'd like something to cheer me up. And there you go. That little pink sign next to quite a lot of models saying, presently out of production, or unavailable until stocks return. It doesn't matter the vernacular or terminology, you can't buy it. Okay, no problem, I'll wait. But how long for? They built a new factory, and then they decided to make paint with it. Oh, wonderful. Like, paint is a thing that anyone can get, but we can't get your models now. So, how do they make sure that they make all of the money they need and have regular boosts for their stockholders? And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not anti-capitalist, by the way. Someone who works hard, they should earn money. But an aside, the point here is, the only way they can now do this if they can't make enough models is to sell us pages of books. But not new story. Oh no, this is a regurgitation of differing rules which they can then gerrymander or mess around with to make sure that the old rules that you had are no longer viable. Wonderful, fantastic. So, in each game that we've got, there is a 3-year churn. But let's put that into perspective. If I got, not Warhammer 40k, just Horus Heresy, if I got all of the rules and different codices for my armies, which aren't that many, that's over 200 English pounds to play the same game. Get that right. Every 3 years, my subscription to just playing the same game is £200 minimum. Now that I find obnoxious, if I'm honest. I find it offensive. Yes, I could play the old editions, but as we all know, some people are very reticent to play any of the old editions. And then, of course, there is the question, which edition would we all agree on? It's not insurmountable, is my point, but realistically, it can be galling. Also, I'd like to raise a personal issue. Now, Horus Heresy in Old World, I thought were going to be the retirement home for older players. You know, greybeards and grumblers like myself. Because sometimes I don't like the new rules. I didn't really gel with 10th. I adored 8th. I liked 9th. But of course, none of us played it much because of the big C. But I didn't enjoy 10th. And so many of the people that I know, not online, but in person, have said the same. We moved over to Horus Heresy, and we loved it. It was like an old friend. Many of the old keywords were there, and we played our hearts out. Yes, it wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad. And all of the things I like in playing, because I buy a unit, and I've got to admit, even if I haven't even made it up and painted it, I enjoy its presence in my army on my shelves, because then after that it allows me to put it in different computations or lists for my army. And I loved that. Playing around with 2 points here, 3 points there, 20 points here. What if I drop this unit and put in that one? Ooh, what if I give them melter bombs? All of these things allowed me to phase the real world away, to let it drift. For a moment only, I could enjoy just making up my list. Now 10th came along, and even 9th, I believe, was pretty much the same. You didn't have a great deal of variety, didn't have that many options, and I thought, no problem at all. I'll stick with Horus Heresy. That's my bag. And maybe I would get into Old World, because again, it was a blast from the past. I thought these were the retirement homes for the old grognards like me. And then, of course, Horus Heresy 3rd edition came along, and they swept away quite a bit of what I enjoyed. And I didn't understand, and I still don't. They want me to be gone, is what everything says. The way they keep changing the rules, it's very difficult for someone of my age to keep up, let alone be interested, because after 3 sets of 3-year churns, you start to get tired of it. But more importantly, I thought they'd created this little retirement home for us all to go to, and we could then buy our models and keep going, doing the things we used to do and enjoying it. But no, they decided to add this to the 3-year churn, and no, we would not be playing the same game at all. And yes, I can explain all of these things in detail, but feel it's unimportant for this video. I don't hate 3rd edition, I just don't like it. And that is something that a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people say that if you don't like something, you dislike it, and I say no, that's not true. You can just have no actual feeling towards it whatsoever. and this is my hobby time. Yes, unfortunately, this is now my job as well, the lore, etc. But I did so love playing Warhammer, and everyone who doesn't make even a moderate living off it should feel the same way. This is a hobby. So why should I actually have to try to work hard to enjoy it? I don't like all of the nuances. I don't like all of the changes. But that's not a problem. I thought we would have Horus Heresy. I thought we would have Old World for us old players exist in. But they don't want us. But then, why bring in so much of this nostalgia bait? Because new players don't even know about it. New players. The ones that are going to disappear in only 2 years. So this, adding it all together, makes it a situation I just don't understand. On one hand, they tell me to get lost. I can't compete, I can't keep up, and I can't enjoy my old models even, because they're all being thrown into legends. But they also state, look, we're bringing back cool and willpower and all of these other things. This is nostalgia, you remember this? So, I don't understand what they want. Do they want me to go and play an old edition on my own? Or do they want me to play the new edition? Because it doesn't seem that they know either. They don't know what they want. And when we go back all the way to the Armageddon box set, the Marines aren't a good army. I'm terribly sorry, but that collection of models simply won't fly on the battlefield. I can think of 100 ways I'd steamroll it in instantly, and that's not great for new players. So what on earth are Games Workshop up to? Why are they regurgitating lore when they could be creating new? Why are they creating new sculpts for old models and not bringing out new models? Why? And this is something that does get my goat up, because usually I can understand everything that people do. It doesn't matter if I condone it or agree with it, at least I can understand their perspective. All of this, in the last 4 or 5 years, has made me utterly despondent. And it does make making videos more difficult, I have to concede. I go back to my original video, the very first I put out, a review of the first 8th edition Space Marines new Codex. And every page I was oohing and ahhing. Every other page I was stating this is a labor of love. And it was. And the problem I have now is, it doesn't feel that the people who make or create this game actually enjoy it. It feels like it's their job, and that, unfortunately, bleeds out in every page, in every word, in every regurgitated picture. Why can't they pay for more art? Why? I just don't understand anymore. But this isn't actually a waffle meant to depress you or disillusion you to the game at all. Certainly not the hobby. For there are so many different wings to it. Because we fans of Warhammer are such an eclectic bunch. There are modelers, writers, readers, lorehounds, audiobook consumers, brush, digital and model artists, collectors, painters, and of course, computer and tabletop gamers. The only thing I can say is, please, enjoy this game and what it is, this setting, this hobby, for what it is. It's yours. Go back to any edition you wish. Play any army you wish. Ignore any rules you wish, as long as you can talk to your friends about it. The thing that really bothers me the most about all of it is, the push towards competitive play makes it you versus me, not my army playing against yours. It feels so cutthroat and quite stressful, if I'm honest. Collecting points from secondaries, X from Y equals Z, A and B gives you 3 points, Z and X give you 8 points. It's all so silly. This is a game about one army fighting another army and kicking a bit of arse. And it should be not a case of me, Baldermort, versus you, John, or whatever you are named, and we're fighting each other. It should be our models which are fighting on the tabletop, and the two of us laughing at the results. Forging a narrative. I make no bones about the fact that I believe that the tournament game has affected the entire setting, and of course the entire game. Now that can make me slightly negative towards them, but it's not their fault. They can play any game they like, any way they like, and I believe that tournament rules should be there. They should be trimmed down, and there should be plenty of units which are said, no, that's a bit rich. We can't actually make this, balanced. So let's leave that out of these tournament lists and entire tournament rules. But for the rest of us, we should just be able to play with our silly models and have some fun. So, as I draw to the conclusion of my rant, please do check out Chapter Master Valrak. He's a jolly fellow. And of course, there are so many different channels out there for everything you could want. Personally, I like watching Skari. He does really well with Dark Eldar. But you can watch Tactical Tortoise or any of a number of different channels. The Blood Angels Commander is excellent as well. But there is one for every single faction and every single style of play. So go out there and find them. But please, try to see this for what it is. It's a hobby. Enjoy your books, audio or paperback. Enjoy your painting with whatever model, with whatever paints you wish. Enjoy your sculpting and making. Try if you can to kit bash a tiny bit. Trust me, you'll love that model so much more than a monopose. And of course, go and have some fun with your friends, not against them. Right, rant over. I will probably get the book. I will probably get the box. But I won't be doing it with a spring in my step and a smile on my lips and a song in my heart. I will get it because Games Workshop forced me to get it to play the game. Nothing more. And that is the greatest shame of all. I have been Baldermort, your faithful servant. Lore will be coming next week. And of course, the waited videos will be arriving very soon. Trust me, I've been working my bald bonds off. These extended episodes will be well worth the wait, I sincerely hope. And now, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.